So you're going from the...
I'd like to call the meeting to order for Tuesday, June 12th, committee meeting. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Scott Geraci.
Here.
Mr. Bryant.
Here.
Mr. Faulkner.
Here.
Miss Ballard.
Here.
Mr. Atwood is absent.
We had discussion items listed. Dr. Saba?
Thank you, Madam President and the board. We do have our first item to discuss is our food service update. And I've invited our food service director, Robert Skip, just to inform you some of the work that, of course, took place this school year. We've had many discussions, lots of long-term and short-term planning. He has some improvements planned. Actually, they're taking place this summer. And then, of course, we have some plans that we want to share with you that will happen next year. So welcome, Roger.
Thank you. Good evening. Yes, we're actually currently at the high school, just like many places, I guess, in Norwood right now, a reconstruction zone. As I think you guys are probably aware, the walk-in freezer and cooler was a dual unit, shared a single wall. Was built with the building originally back in 72, 73. During our flood, we actually received some damage that went unaware for well over a year, a little over a year, before we started to see signs. I have photos that can kind of demonstrate this throughout the entire process. If any of you are so inclined to look at all the photos I've taken. What it started to do is it almost volcanoed up from the middle of the floor. It was a tile-in floor, and then it pushed the walls apart. They actually said after the fact that they were quite surprised that one of the ceiling panels hadn't dropped in on the thing.
And this is a freezer?
Freezer that caused the problems. What had happened is, and I know this now going back, it was all speculative beforehand, but during the flood, water had gotten underneath the freezer unit. Under that freezer was a layer of 6-inch foam insulation board. It just acted like a sponge and sucked up all that water and then froze. And when it froze, it expanded. And when it expanded, to the point of pushing that thing apart. It was probably 15 inches higher in the center of the freezer than in the outside than when it was normal. So the demolition of that hasn't happened. They were all tore out first week after school was out. Then the floor was jackhammered. We found some old pipe that was broken. We don't know that it went anywhere. We replaced it anyway, just in case. And now it's cured and waiting for the tile guy to come in. The boxes, the replacement boxes are on order. We need about another week and a half, probably the rest of this week and another week before we see those boxes arrive. And then they'll get installed. With that, it's kind of interesting because the timing of it works very well with us. We received this past year the School Food Support Initiative grant. That grant comes with a huge assessment, which I also have copies of here. I think I've probably provided them out before in the past. I think it was a 70-some page report. They look at every bit of our operation and they give us suggestions and advice as to what we can do to try to improve. With some of that is the improvement of the quality of the food that we offer. Now, when they speak of the quality of the food, they're talking about going back to more of a whole food concept, more fresh fruits and vegetables as opposed to canned and frozen fruits and vegetables. So along with that also comes an opportunity for $50,000, of which we are putting together a plan to submit to them for approval so that we can start to receive some of those funds. The interesting thing that kind of tied together is with the replacement of the 2 coolers, it gives me an opportunity to reconfigure those coolers in a different location. Same area, but just turning them 90 degrees, which opens up the floor space in our kitchen, allowing us more room for preparation. We got a couple prep sinks that we found that we can install there that we had in the district already, so that we can turn that area into a prep area for just our produce. So the plans moving forward to next school year are to put a fresh fruit and vegetable bar in each of our elementary schools. We've looked at the lines and how we have to reconfigure them, talked with IT to make sure that everything can get lined up so that we can still put the point of sale at the end of the service line. And then what we'll offer is fresh fruits and vegetables on a salad bar type format, where the kids can come through and they can choose a hot vegetable if they so wish it, But as we all know, most kids don't like cooked broccoli, cooked Brussels sprouts, although they love them at the high school. But then they can go and they can choose instead a cold, fresh fruit or vegetable, raw product. We'll do carrot sticks, we'll do cucumber smiles, we'll cut up bell peppers. We will also do a whole bunch of fruits, melons, watermelon, cantaloupes. We'll still like to offer a piece of whole fruit so that the kids that want to take something with them to eat later on, they can still do that. And this will give them a better opportunity to get things hopefully that they like. By offering them things that they like or that they're accustomed to, and then exposing them to some things that are new to them, we hope to gain better participation moving forward with a fresher product. So that's the plan. It is kind of interesting how a disaster kind of helps push us into a direction that helps us maybe move in that direction. So
That was something insurance kicked in on, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's nice.
Yeah, that's really nice that it's being covered by the insurance. That's fantastic. So,
Thank you, Roger.
you're welcome.
Next, we have Norwood Ready Kids, and if you remember back to August when I gave the superintendent's report, I just shared that Shepherd Chemical, the donor for Norwood Ready Kids, wanted our district to manage the funds and the programming. And I've invited Deb Robinson tonight. She's our Family Student Support Services coordinator. Other people call her the lady who removes barriers to learning. To share about the progress of Norwood Ready Kids. Deb?
Can I just ask this? Is everybody familiar with Norwood Ready Kids? No? No? Okay. So just the quick overview is that Tom and John Shepherd had a real passion for making sure that kids come to school ready to learn. And so we worked with several organizations in the community that already provide early childhood services. So we didn't really create a new service, but what we created was an array of services put together in a way that is different than really exists anywhere else in the region. And the idea is that these services will work together to shepherd kids from, no pun intended, to shepherd kids from birth all the way into kindergarten. So some of those services include Every Child Succeeds, which is a prenatal to 3-year-old program, Hippie and Spark, which is a home visitation program that is 3 to 5-year-olds. For parents and caregivers who choose not to have to be involved with those kinds of programs, there's Play and Learn, where they can come and learn some things, take back and try them in their own homes. And then Great Start, which is a kind of a capstone that parents and caregivers can come to and really launch their children into success. So a lot of this is very parents driven, but we are now approaching about 115 kids that we've been working with over the past several years. We're starting to see those kids show up in our preschool and in our kindergarten. So while I really wish that I had great hard data to give to you, I don't have that great hard data because we won't know for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, their readiness scores. I think we have 8 kids total that we work with that are now in preschool or kindergarten, so we don't have a whole wealth of data that way. But I did want to share with you just a couple of kind of anecdotal stories quickly, because these are our kids. These are our kids that will be in our building in 3 years, in 4 years, and 5 years. So 3-year-old Jack was born addicted to heroin. His adopted mother participated in one of our home visitation programs. She noticed the way he was learning and his growth through their participation in the program. This mother then invited 3 other moms on her street to enroll, all of their children in the same program. Now all of the children, 5 total, meet together for their home visits. This mother has built a community of caring adults for these little ones. Together, these moms and grandmas participate in Play and Learn groups, Great Start, and Parent Power. Jack is learning leadership skills too. Last week he asked if he could be the teacher. So these are kids that are going to be ours in 2 more years, right? And it's impacting parents, how they're working together and seeing the need for this for their kids. Perhaps one of the most important reasons for this work, and Every Child Succeeds is a home visitation program for new moms and dads, but it's mostly moms. We've been working with Darla since she was prenatal, and now the baby is 16 months old. Mom was diagnosed with schizophrenia and depression at a young age. Since starting the program, Darla has had some troubling times with frequent moves, being socially isolated, breakups, and bad relationships. Only one family member is involved with Darla, and that is her dad, and he has numerous health issues. She became homeless in May of last year. She didn't have anywhere to go. She was afraid that Children's Services would become involved. Every Child Succeeds helped her get into a homeless shelter where she lived for about 3 months and received support from a case manager that helped her get into an apartment, receive housing support, get a job, and food assistance. Baby is doing very well developmentally and has exceeded her milestones. Darla is a great mother and is really engaged when it comes to the activities the home visitor brings. She is attentive to her baby. Darla is working and saving her money to start paying her own rent. She is receiving mental health support to keep her on track. She's doing amazing and getting the support she needs. These are our families. They're just 2 years in the future, 3 years in the future. And this work is really important because it's not only helping our kids be academically ready, it's helping them be emotionally and socially ready.
So we're so grateful to the Shepherd Chemical, specifically the Shepherd family, for making it a possibility and trusting Norwood with those funds so that we can manage it to ensure that Norwood kids get those services. So we're pretty excited about that. Deb refers to it oftentimes as diapers to diplomas. And so that's, our way of making us smile, but it's the truth, diapers to diplomas.
And we know that since we've been doing Norwood Ready Kids, that the number of parents that have been coming to preschool information night has gone up. The number of kids that are enrolling in preschool early is going up. So we feel like, while we don't have our readiness scores data, we do have some other indicators that this is being successful.
It seems like a real positive first experience with public school.
Hey Deb, is Every Child Succeeds, is that the replacement to Help Me Grow, or is that another separate program still?
It's not a replacement, it's part of Help Me Grow.
Okay.
Help Me Grow is kind of an umbrella organization.
Okay, because I'm noticing a lot of similarities with Every Child Succeeds to Help Me Grow, so I'm like, is that phasing out or not? Because I've worked with both agencies.
That's kind of the primary method of delivery, but there's several projects in Help Me Grow that are.
Okay.
The next item we want to talk about, which also includes Deb and Kathy Strasser, our district school nurse, is School-Based Health Center. And we've actually been talking about just investigating it for some time now. Actually, it was back in August when I mentioned it in the superintendent report. In your packet, you'll see a draft. It's a very rough draft of a potential MOU should we elect to have a school-based health center. And really, tonight is just about giving you an introduction to the concept. I want to share with you that we have, actually all three of us, visited other health centers. There are a number of school-based health centers in the Cincinnati area. I know West Claremont also has one. We have met with building principals to share the concept, and we're still considering what this would mean for students in Norwood schools. And so Deb has really spearheaded this concept in the effort, and she's here again tonight with Kathy Strasser, our district nurse. They believe strongly in it. There's still more work to do, but they want to share with you tonight what school-based health centers would mean.
So school-based health centers are really a way to bring health to kids in the schools. Interact for Health, which is our Norwood neighbor, actually has been involved with this work for many years. And you may remember kind of probably 12 or 15 years ago, we took a stab at school-based health, school-linked health work. And we were one of the first in the area to take a stab at this. Most places do one site. We try to do something a little bit different because we're trying to kind of spread the wealth to all of the schools. And lots of things, we learned a lot from that. But school-based health clinics really are designed to do a couple things. They're designed to provide high-quality health services to kids and families in a community, to keep kids in school longer, to reduce attendance problems or increase attendance, the attendance rate, and all of those things that detract from kids being at school learning. So we know that we had a health clinic in Norwood that was run first through Baby's Milk Fund, and then it changed hands a couple of times, and then it went out of business. And I don't know what, a pretty high percent, like 60% of our kids use that, is that right? And has no health home. So many of our kids use emergency rooms as their primary health care provider. School-based health clinics can do a lot of things. They can do well child care, they can do vaccinations, they can do, I have an earache, I need something, and I need to go back to class. They can do sports visits, they can do family care, they can do a whole range of things. And really the ultimate goal is keep kids in school. Keep kids here so they can learn. Do you want to talk a little bit about why this will be important for us to have a school-based health clinic?
It'd be very important for us. The number of students that we send home for things that Deb mentioned, first of all, immunization or lack of immunizations. One big thing is asthma care. We have so many children that come in and they have asthma, or they were diagnosed with asthma a while ago, and this year it's really been significant for asthma problems. And then they don't go back to the doctor. They don't go for any follow-up. So then we have to send them home because they're not breathing. Well, then they go to urgent care, and urgent care doesn't follow through. They need a primary care doctor. So asthma is a really big one. Headaches is huge with our kids. Why they want to come home for their migraines, and they always have migraines. And just so many of these students need not just a one-time care, one-time pill, one-time medication. They need a follow-up. They need somebody who knows them and knows what their problem is and continues to encourage them to be treated for the asthma or to be treated for the migraines in the way that they need to be. So I strongly believe that this will be a huge benefit to the Norwood kids, just in keeping them in school. Like there's so many times that, according to Ohio Department of Health, if a kid has an undiagnosed rash, I have to send them home. If I don't know what that rash is, I have to send those children home. And they could go over there, and they could say, well, it's eczema, or it's this or that. And I'm not, by law, allowed to diagnose. I can tell you what I think it is, but I can't diagnose and I can't treat things. So the flow would be that they would see the health aides, and then they would see me if it was a problem. They'd be referred to the school-based health center, or they could just go in there for their physicals or for a doctor's visit. So it would be a huge benefit to the kids.
The the structure of this is that we would enter into an agreement for this minimum understanding for 6 months to a year of planning. This would not commit us to actually having a school-based health clinic. We would enter into an agreement to plan for that, to investigate how would it work, how would it not work, what would the pitfalls be, how would all this shake down. And at the end of that time, we can all come to this and say, look, bad idea, not for us, and we're not committed to anything. We clearly believe in this, and we've told you the upsides of this, in our opinion. A school-based health clinic is not run by school staff. We would partner with CenterPoint Health as the organization that we're currently in discussion with. They would provide the medical staff. They would provide really all of the infrastructure, the technical infrastructure for that. So all the record keeping, all of the billing, all of that kind of stuff. It would be a federally qualified health center. So they would bill people, they would bill their insurance, they would bill Medicaid. But what having a school-based health center does, especially with our first part of the implementation grant, is that people that can't afford to pay don't pay. So it doesn't preclude any of our families receiving services, but at some point it has to become sustainable in order for them to continue to see all of our kids at whatever rate. So it may be that insurance is billed, and if a family can't afford their copay, that's waived. So those are some of the things that we have to figure out. Some school-based health clinics have dental in them, some have vision in them, some have behavioral health in them. We have a pretty strong behavioral health component already with therapists and different things, so we have to kind of figure all those pieces out. That's what the year planning is for. So those are just some key pieces.
I think it's important to recognize that it is not a replacement of the school district nurse. And that we've already begun discussions about, compromising our relationship with the city of Norwood and the health center across the street from middle school and the high school.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've had some discussion with Chandra specifically, who the health department, the Norwood Health Department is really excited about this opportunity for us. That this really is not in any way, that there's no tussle over this work with them. They, the health department is pretty broad in scope. It's in Norwood, and they're pretty thinly staffed to do that work. So, and the health department really is not a clinic. It's not set up to be a clinic. They do some vaccinations, and they do some, especially for seniors, they do some, medication setup and some things like that. But they're not really designed to be a clinic per se. So this is not in competition with Norwood Health Department at all.
And what I understand thus far, and certainly I'm sure we would have more conversations about it, but it appears to come to us at no cost. We simply offer the space, they offer all the equipment, items, the medical doctor to serve, and that's it. So I think there's more investigation to go.
Sure there
We need
is.
to continue to discuss.
And we've given you some information from Interact for Health about their work in CPS and school-based health centers around the region. You can see some of the places on the map there that they are currently in. So this is not it's not a new thing. This is kind of a tried and true. Although I always love for us to be a pilot for anything, we would not be being a pilot for. We would be following models that exist other places. And a lot of places have seen reduction in absenteeism, and they've seen an increase in academic scores, and they've seen all those positive outcomes that you want to see for schools.
So conceptually, and this is truly just conceptually in conversations we discussed, perhaps it being at the high school. It'd be great if they had a mobile lab that could drive around the buildings, but they don't. But conceptually, that's what we were thinking. Again, just thoughts.
It would likely be at the high school. The high school is already really designed to be a clinic space, and there are two buildings there that really serve about half of our population, and certainly kids from the elementary schools could be seen at the clinic. No different than a parent takes their child out, takes them urgent care, right, urgent care or someplace else. They could pick them up and bring them to the school, walk them there, to the high school. But that's one of those pieces that we have to figure out in the planning stages. Are there transportation barriers that we have to figure out? What might those look like? How might we overcome those?
When I was a kid, we used to have a nurse practitioner who would come and do the vision exams for the class, and it would be 4th grade one day, 5th grade, and that kind of thing. So that way, if it was a proposed mobile unit, we could set up vision tests or hearing tests or immunizations, simple things that we can do in bulk that we could take to the elementary schools and then have the individual visit needs handled there. I've worked at several of these clinics around the city. I think they're absolutely phenomenal, the capacity that they're able to handle in building and keeping the kids on track. Like you said, a lot of those migraines are allergy related. So if they can get put on a regular medication and have the follow-up at the school where they may lose that component at home, you're gonna save a lot of that.
I think you just said something that made me think it's important that we know in our discovery so far is that in order for a child to be served, they have to have parent permission.
Right, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Another thing that's real important, you mentioned that, is the ADHD, kids that are on medications, such as that. And so often, the student will be on medication and will be going along fine, and then the parent doesn't get the child back to have the medication renewed, so then they have a lapse of time, and it takes them a while to catch up again. And this would be right on track right there.
And if the school knows about, hey, you need a refill on the 27th, then the school can go ahead and send those refills out.
Plus you have the medical provider and the mental health provider right there talking along with just like the teacher and the parent, everybody in the same space.
Yeah.
And I think it promotes that idea that we collaborate on kids.
I've done a lot of work with these folks through the Cincinnati Health Department and working in these buildings, and I'm so for this project. This is a great idea.
We just need to be cognizant about the security and people coming and going and
Hours of service.
Well, we would still screen everybody through the office for visits, I would assume. And then obviously their professionals are the ones handling all the medical records. So they have the HIPAA training. they have all the medical training and they provide that level of service there. So we don't have to necessarily step in on that side of things, which is great because we don't have to do that part.
As we begin to work through an MOU that represents more of a planning MOU, because I think the one you have now doesn't necessarily represent a planning MOU, and we'll work to that end to have even more conversations and perhaps ultimately present you with an MOU.
Because that's exactly what that's one of the things that would be on our list to talk about is how do we keep kids secure? How does that, and what does it look like on a snow day when they have an appointment, when they have appointments? What does it look like on, when the school is out for 2 weeks for Christmas? Do they continue out? So all of those things get addressed and get kind of looked at in the planning section. So, and I feel like we've worked on quite a few things with Interact for Health, who I think that they're wonderful because they want people to succeed, but also a lot of medical projects that we've been working on that really are pushing our kids to be healthier, pushing us to do better at catching kids before they fall down a rabbit hole of unhealthiness. And so this is the kind of thing that can be a deal breaker for some of our kids.
Could this be something that we could implement with kind of an award thing? Like, hey, you came to your checkups. Hey, you're being proactive about, eating healthy or something like that, where we can kind of help these kids have a goal set and track it and say, hey, I went to the doctor. I got my vision test. Look at this. And then at the end, maybe they get a certificate. Hey, I'm a Norwood healthy student, something like that just says, hey, I'm working towards it, and it gives them a little perk for coming and being a part of that. And if they're not wanting to use our clinic, if they bring in their note from their doctor and check it in with our nurse and say, hey, I went to the doctor today. Here's my certificate that I went to the doctor, and here's my medicine, and they're checking in regularly, that they get little, bonus points or something that helps them stay on track. That could be a neat thing.
The integration is the important piece, and I think that's what you're speaking of.
Thanks to Deb and Kathy for bringing it forward, and we'll continue to work on it. We appreciate it. The other item for discussion is a construction update, and of course progress at the middle school is moving along, and I'd just like to show you a few things, an aerial view of what's happening on the roof, and then of course some specific photos of some of the work in progress. I do want to let you know that the lockers were ordered. They will be school colors, which is navy blue, and they will not be here in time for August 17th. But when they get here, they will be amazing. And so, John Peter, thanks for joining us tonight. He's, of course, on site all day long, making sure everything runs smoothly. And, John, I'm going to let you jump in at any point in time to help me with this update. This is, of course, a drone view. Our architect was able to put this together for us. So most of the work you'll see is taking place right now. Directly center of our camera is the west wing, and that's where all of the work is taking place. You see those 4 large fan-like things. So this is the biggest phase of the work, phase 1, because you see all the preparatory work going on in the very front of the building, just above the entrance. And so we're excited about what is to come, that is for sure. But this is the work that has to take place in order for us to have air conditioning. So I know we talked about this effort being safe, warm, and dry. And cool. So with warm, there must be cool. And so this is a lot of that equipment that'll take place on the roof. John, did you want to add any more to that?
You may be able to see on the front left there, you can see a antenna tower that will be coming down. I think generally that is visible from the street, so that'll be one less eyesore. I think there will be.
The place for my birds to go.
What's that?
The place for my birds to go.
John, you want to point out the area where the elevator will be, because some of my photos.
If you can see, you've got the 2 air shafts in the center of the building, right between, well, it's on the main building, but just before the auditorium roof right there. The one that's now closer to us, that will be the elevator shaft, and it will extend up past the roof vision that you can see right there.
But if you're on the ground, you won't be able to see it.
Correct. But from this view, you would be able to see it.
Cool, they're installing a slide.
Yes.
And they did just last week break through the roof, or the ceiling rather, of the maintenance shop area, which is where that shaft will be. And you can see from that picture right there, they are coming through the roof. So that's kind of exciting.
More of the shaft for the 2B elevator. We anticipate it to be completely installed in October. More photos of that work. This is the basement, actually. The base floor, the foundation for that. Is that right, John?
That is correct. That is, though, probably from well over a month ago. There's quite a bit of shaft coming up.
These are initial footings we were able to put in place over spring break. This photo really represents a large expense at this point in time. For the first time since I think the 70s, that we'll be able to have actual air moving through the building constantly. So we were counting on this ductwork to be in place behind the lockers, and it has been crushed at best. And so you see there the ledge where the lockers would have been, and there I have a few more photos to express this. So we're able to correct some of that ductwork.
You can see up against the wall, the vent has been crushed against the wall, and it was cut. What was a vent, you can see, was cut there. So that's a hole that goes down for airflow, but what was the vent has been crushed flat against the wall.
It's more of our elevator area. This is, we talked a lot about the plumbing behind the walls, but this was really important. And you'll notice they're working really hard to save the really historical tile that we have, but also to provide new plumbing for toiletry fixtures. So that will be very important. And of course, that's a lot of the work will happen behind the walls, which people won't see. This, of course, if you look below, that's where lockers would be, and you can see some of the ductwork. Again, more space where lockers were, and you can see some of the ductwork here. And we're up on the top of the roof. And this is from the roof looking all the way down what will be the elevator.
Is this elevator a maglev style, or is it going to have like a gear room underneath there?
John, can
I
you read that?
believe it's a gear.
Okay.
And of course, you can see toilet fixtures removed from the floor. And at this point, the floor in many places has been replaced. And new plumbing, which is now behind those walls. And of course, we're going to be repairing walls.
And floors in some
And
areas.
floors. And this is, I was just trying to show you the plumbing, which to us is just an unsuspecting wall, but behind here, there's a great deal of plumbing.
Are we keeping the tile that goes along the hallways now? Or
We
is-
are, and we have a tile similar to that to replace. Yeah. It's easy to clean, and it's not carpet, which is what we had before on the walls. And this gives you more of a vision. This right here is right outside. If you're facing the auditorium, it's to your right. Deb Robinson's office is right over here. So this would be the conference room over here. And this will be where on the first floor, which is the office floor, the elevator will rise to here. And of course, you'll be able to step out through these soon-to-be doors, which are now windows. More of the elevator shaft. We're excited about what this elevator is going to mean to our students.
What's the dimensions of the elevator?
It should be about 8 feet, I'm going to say wide, because I believe, if you think of the high school elevator, you walk straight into the 8 foot, but you'll walk in here and it'll have a turn to it. So it'll be about 5 feet deep and 8 feet wide.
It's bigger than the high school elevator, the way I understood it.
The way I understand it, that is true, but just barely. We're actually taking measurements today, and it's
About the same.
about the same.
Okay. And I think this brings us back to the beginning. So, Any questions about our construction? Okay, we are watching the change orders closely and monitoring things as best we can. And we are in constant communication. We are beginning to work actually to set dates to work with elementary principals and their team of folks to review the plan for the elementaries. So we're starting that initial work. SHP has been working on those plans for a few months now. So it's at the point where our committees come in and take a look at what they're proposing, how they're proposing to do it, and then get our input. So there are a few components where they had suggested they were at 100% complete, but hasn't necessarily been reviewed by us yet, so we're holding payment until we're able to be a part of that. So anything more you want to add, John?
I just wanted to mention that concrete pad that's been poured out on the north front backyard, I guess, of the field house. They trenched out from the concrete pad where the transformer will eventually sit into what was an old shower area that was never really used for 30, 40 years or so, I suppose, just for storage. So that will be the new vault area where the electric's in. So that should be switching over, they tell me, tomorrow.
Wow. That will be so appreciated, that you can run the copier and a classroom full of Chromebooks and charge them without a light flickering or lights going out or choosing to run the copier or your computer. So that'll be nice. Extra capacity. So that concludes our construction update. The next item for discussion is board member replacement. With the potential of one of you moving out of the district, I thought it was important for us to just share or discuss our plans for replacing a board member. I know Mrs. Camphouse, our treasurer, has guided a board through this process before. So I'd like for her to just share what her experience has been and perhaps offer suggestions as we go into discussion about this.
Sure, thank you. Whenever there's an opening on the board, the district will post the opening, post it on our website. We'll put it in the paper, put it flyers on the wall, wherever you post openings. So in your buildings, it hurts that it's summertime, of course, and then the board will network. You're going to talk to friends and different community members about, there's an opening on the board. Would you be interested? They'll ask you, how much time does it take? That's always the first question. What kind of things do you need me to do? So you'll fill the potential candidate in on all their questions. And then we will accept resumes, formal resumes from anybody that is interested in being on the board. We will meet in special session or regular session and interview those candidates. After the board selects the candidate that they feel is best, we will appoint them in a regular meeting, in public session. We'll appoint them and swear them in. Now, the important thing about appointing a board member when there's an opening is you only have 30 days from the date of that opening. So it's going to take quite a commitment from all of you to get this done within the 30 days.
What happens at that point?
If you go over 30 days, it's appointed by the court system.
Oh.
But it cannot be done before the 10th
Right.
day. So from the person saying, I'm not going to live here as June 10th,
Right,
you couldn't complete the process before June 20th.
right.
So-
The 10-day process is intended to be a review process.
But we do have until date of non-residency to start that 30-day period?
Correct. Well, it's the resignation date, but the resignation date has to be based on, or can be based on, their residence. So hopefully we won't have a resignation until the very last day that you're a resident.
Okay.
So
It's a big time commitment. It really is. I know it's bad timing with summer and vacation
That
schedules.
person fills my term, correct? So my term is up next year.
Actually, I
In 19.
think, doesn't that person have to run in November for the remainder of her term?
Board members run every other year. So there's 3 1 year, and then 2 years later there's 2 that run. And I think I read the board policy. You guys are on odd.
I thought when
Years.
Sarah, when we replaced Rick Guy, I thought Sarah had to run the following November for the remainder of this term, and then turn around and run because she had like a year left.
That is correct. That is correct. You have to run the next time there's a board member running.
Okay.
Whether it's your term that's up or not, you have to run. So I read our board policy says on odd years.
So it would be next.
So
not this
19 is when
November.
they would have to run. Yeah.
If they wanted to maintain the seat
Yes.
after that point. Okay.
Well, it's going to be open, so somebody's going to run.
Right. Okay.
Are there any questions about that?
I'm sure there will be.
Oh yeah.
Let's just put a pin in that one.
And I know there's.
understand 2 boards have perhaps, all the resumes and letters of interest could go to 1 or 2 board members. They could review them and then bring them to the rest of the board for, of course, executive session for further review and then interview.
Do we want to appoint a committee for that, just to make it organized?
Could do that.
Yeah, it would be.
Especially with everybody going on vacation.
That was the next thing I was going to say. Is right now we're going to be dependent upon
Most of
when
us
this
are gonna
starts. The 10 days is going to put us in a spot where there's going to be a couple board members out if it's the end of the month. And then the 30 days, we're going to be pushed to get someone in. So it's going to be very crucial in the timing.
And know too that we can always change our committee meeting dates and our board meeting dates should we need to.
Okay.
So those, while we like to keep those static so that our constituents can attend, there's still meeting dates that we announce. And so we could move those. It doesn't have to be the 3rd Thursday of the month.
And either the treasurer or the superintendent too can offer to take care of the housekeeping of it. We can collect the resumes. We can, set up the meetings and that kind of stuff so that you guys just have to show up for the meeting and actually do the interviews.
Since you have more experience doing this before, I would be very okay if we had just refer all resumes directly to our treasurer
Yeah.
for review, since you have gone through this process.
Yeah, so that'll be Ernie and I then that kind of split those duties.
Okay. I'm for that if you guys.
I'll take a little bit off your shoulders anyway.
Yeah, I'm fine.
And it would give one point of contact for
Yes.
anybody. We can say just send it to our treasurer's office
That's correct.
that we would like to refer to the position.
That would be fine.
Okay. Do you have a preferred email address, or just the one that's listed for the treasurer's office is fine for
Yeah,
contact?
because this is all subject to board to public records, so we
Okay.
want to go through mine.
I was wanting to say that, but
What?
Or
so
she
the
can
person could just not move.
Yeah. I mean,
I can claim homeless.
We
I live at the bus stop over the corner on the bench.
we could just move you into the building while it's under
With my 3
construction.
dogs. There's always Allison.
I'm sure there's a spot we could put a bed and a shower, yeah, and you could just live at the district.
Yeah, I know.
Calm down.
Forever.
Been there, done that.
We'll bounce you around on some couches,
Yeah.
whatever we need to do.
Well, the next item for discussion, if we're ready to move on to our next item, is technology devices. And, we are very slow to spend money and thorough when we are about to do that. And Christina Chesson wants to share with you new technology devices that will be selected, that are selected for our teachers.
That's right. So this is the ZenBook Flip, and it's not just a regular laptop device. It also flips and can be a tablet, and you can use your finger on it as well. And there's also a stylus that goes with it. So we looked long and hard. Some different people. I'm going to pass this around so you can play with it a bit, and I'll talk about it. But our goal was reduce the weight of this kind of device. And this is a really lightweight device, about 3.2 pounds, coming in at 3.2 pounds, a 14-inch screen. And so it met that goal of being able to be lightweight and easier for people to carry around, because a lot of our teachers and staff members do travel with the devices or take them home and continue their work or attend meetings. The fact that it's a 2-in-1 device and that it serves as a laptop and a tablet is more up-to-date technology. So we were really our treasurer, Ernie Strasser, really challenged us to find something that would be next in line in terms of technology, looking forward. And so we try to be forward in our thinking about what's to come. And the tablet part, the ability to flip it and use it as a tablet, we believe will be really healthy. Especially we see it in as a desire among our math teachers at the high school. They've expressed a lot of interest in the notion of moving around the room with a tablet-like device and using a stylus that still would connect to their projector system and giving kids, letting students take the lead on different opportunities. So we like that component. So we feel like this is a win for us. The board was gracious enough to set aside funds in their long-term planning to cover the cost of devices. And we knew this day would come that we'd either have to upgrade a great deal to patch along for another year or move forward. And so we're moving forward with the next device that we would use in our district. And technology changes rapidly, as we all know, but we feel like this device will serve us, and who knows what's to come 5 years from now with devices for our students and for adults, but the pace is pretty quick. So some other things about it, our process now is looking at ordering about 265 devices. So we're looking at a 16 gigabyte, so that's an increase of what we currently have. And one of the challenges that we have with our current devices is that they're becoming slow moving. Not all of you know, but the devices that we use as a staff were used a year by our students first, and then they were transformed to use by staff members, and our students, we moved them on to the world of Chromebooks. So they have served us well, these devices, but this one will be a good fit for us. Additionally, at the same time, in addition to the teacher and staff devices, we will be purchasing some new projectors for that west wing of the middle school. And we're only purchasing them for the west wing now because another thing about technology that's interesting is the price is good for those 30 days and then the prices are adjusted. And Mr. Grandstaff believes that with each phase of this, he can try to get a better deal. So we're only purchasing what we need in hopes that we'll get a better deal. But he does like this interactive projector that we've slated for that west wing. So those will be two two purchase orders that will come through on the board agenda this month. So the price point for that device at beyond the low retail price that he's gotten so far is $12.45 for each device. So we had started with a $1,500 budget and worked to get lower to that. So it's good once the deal comes to a close because that's your best price and that will hold true for 30 days and then they will retract that price and move on. And then we'll be ordering 27 of our projections for that west wing and a little bit more what's going to happen early in the fall so we can wrap that up. So I wanted to let you take a look at it and see what's to come with our devices for the staff, and we think this is the right move for the reasons I mentioned before, but we're really pleased with it and certainly grateful for the work that the lead that Randall took and then also the people that were willing to kind of test drive it as we try some different things out.
The memory that's on it, you said is 16. Is that a solid state drive? Because those are a little hardier if it gets dropped or jostled, which happens a lot with kids.
So this is just for staff, so we hope they'll be more thoughtful about dropping. We do have a backup plan. We don't just rid ourselves of the current devices. We keep them around in case of something, an emergency that might occur. We use them differently so we can limp along as much as we need to. And then once we know all is well, we start to shift to recycle. So we kept our old devices to see if sometimes we get called to create an opportunity with 10 devices and we don't have extras. So we're going to keep some of these. So we've accounted for 10% in terms of damage because we know that could happen because of the human interaction with the devices. But we also have a backup plan that if one of our humans needs to revert back to a heavier model, we have that opportunity as well. So,
thank you, Mrs. Chesson.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. I think that concludes our items for discussion.
Next item is the Education Committee. Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Madam President. You only get to say. All right. So the first item up is 4.1. We have, again, discussion of the student handbooks. We have a 2018 and 2019 student handbook for the high school and middle school. There are attachments on your guys' computer file to review those new documents. 4.2 is the approval of maximum healthcare service contract for the upcoming 2018-2019 school year. Again, the contract is available for you guys to review. The 4.3 is our field trip, and we only have one listed field trip, and that's for Avenues for Success's summer camp. And that's going to the Skyward Adventures in Brookville, Indiana, July 10th. And it's an all-day event, 10 to 5. It's only about 30 students and 4 chaperones. And that's it.
I would just like to add to that, Ms.
Sure.
Fowler. The changes you'll notice in the high school handbook, of course, in both middle and high school, they are highlighted in yellow. But for high school, you'll notice the addition of just attention to social media and tweets. And then for the middle school, because they are a construction zone, they really do not want students to wear flip-flops to school this next year. Many of the floors are very dusty, and so just the thin foam flip-flop is really very dangerous, and you could slip very easily. So they're just asking students to have a heel counter in their shoes. So those are really the only two large adjustments. And then just with regard to the maximum health care, that's just provide nursing for students with significant needs.
I didn't think flip-flops were not dress code.
I don't think that they are.
We should be.
So be
that dress
specific
code.
about that. Very
Yeah.
specific.
It means I would warn teachers from wearing heels next year, too.
Yeah.
Because those could be slippery.
Dangerous, very dangerous.
The personnel superintendent recommendations.
Yes. So we have, of course, resignations to begin, and there are 3 of those. I also want to recommend folks for employment. And hang on just a moment, I'm trying to get myself the right spot. Some of those resignations, when we posted those positions, that we warranted over 100 resumes. So letters of interest and resumes to fulfill those positions, so that's pretty exciting. When it comes to employment, I have for administrative contract, 3 items there. Of course, Mr. Grandstaff for 3 years. And then the following 2 folks, Christina Chesson and Shannon Eshman, being placed on our administrative salary schedule. And then personnel on a second 1-year contract. This is something typically we do, just to note that they are on a second 1-year contract. And then, of course, this summer we have kindergarten camp, folks that need to be approved, summer school, extended service for our counselors and the work that they do at the end of the year, approval of the assistant treasurer. These folks really have their hands in a number of things and do some of the duties of an assistant treasurer, so we wanted to note them with a supplemental contract, which is not new. Avenues for Success pay scale, Avenues for Success summer staff. We have a change in status on Allie Barber. She is the secretary to the athletic director from part-time to 8 hours a day, beginning July 1st. Extended school year folks that provide for learning, continued learning. We have certified supplemental contracts, and this is to get us ready for athletics next school year. Followed by, number 12, those folks who also provide services to athletics or pupil activity contracts. And that concludes recommendations for employment.
Next item is policy committee. Mr. Atwood is not in attendance tonight. Is this our second? We'll have the second.
This is our second reading.
of it.
Yeah, this is our second reading.
Okay, so we want to do the second reading at the meeting.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So everybody's familiar with that, so you can move on.
And those are still posted under our tab on our website for Board of Education, new proposed policies.
Okay. Next item, Building and Grounds Committee, Mr. Bryant.
Yes, so we got about 4 items on there. We got the Norwood solar service for the fire exam. I know the date's different on there, but what had happened was that when the guy was supposed to come in and do the class, he never showed up. So they had all the guys in there waiting. There's a little miscommunication on their part, so they had to send 40 guys home, have them come back the following week to take the exam. And they weren't too happy about that, how all it went down. So that's why the date on there is different on there. Then we got stepping stones wanting to use, or use a parking lot for pickup and drop off. Richard Linder, YMCA, Norwood High School practice field during the week for summer camps. And then the oath for the Norwood High School in the auditorium, 5 classrooms. Saturday, June 23rd, from 2 for a community report of quality of life service. That's all I got on there.
The Finance Committee, Mr. Faulkner.
Thank you, Madam President. All right, I'm going to try these, Julie, and I'm going to volley them over to you if I miss anything or when I miss things, because it's not enough. Financial reports, these are just our monthly financial reports that we go through. So if you chance to, when you get a chance to look through those. The Duke Energy Grant of Easement, is that at the middle school? Is that where that is?
Yes.
That's for where you're talking about the pad out there. So that's 802. 803 is the budgetary numbers from 2018. Do you want to go into a little more detail on those, or is it that's just a standard?
It's at the end of the year, we have to say what our estimated revenues are. The county takes that, adds it to our cash balance, and then they make sure our appropriations come in lower than that.
Okay.
So,
and then we have the estimated 19. So we do the same
temporary
project.
appropriations, yes.
And the approval of the transfers and advances from 2018 is 805. 806 is the property value and liability insurance renewal from Liberty Mutual. 807 is the transportation reimbursement for 17-18 school year. 808 is the LISW contract for Joanne Payne, and I believe this is one we do annually for Joanne.
Social worker.
Yeah. And then 809 is the Norwood Police Division, the detailed pay rate that they've sent over for us. 810 is the Butler County ESC curriculum services. This is cleanup from last year still, and this should hopefully take care of our cleanup from last year. And then 11 is the urology group payment in lieu of taxes letter that came over. I don't see any more detail you want to go into on any of those that I missed? Or
No, I think you did
detail.
fine. I think you did fine. If there were any questions, I can certainly help answer them.
I think the urology group payment rule of taxes was the TIF, correct?
And
It's all of our TIF financing.
Yeah, and I think it's just, from what I understand from reading it, it's just the owner of the property. It's being sold, and so this is just transferring the same agreement to a new owner.
That's it.
That's it. Anything else? Have a motion to adjourn.
I'll give a motion.
Mr. Bryan? Second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Bowden. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Scott Jaraisi,
Yes.
Mr. Bryant,
Yes.
Mr. Faulkner,
Yes.
Mr. Atwood is absent, Ms. Ballard.
Yes.